All right, so today we are going to talk about isotopes. Now, an isotope is basically just a different version of an element, okay, or an atom. So if we have carbon, right? Carbon has 6 protons. Now, carbon will always have 6 protons no matter what. If it doesn't have 6 protons, it's not carbon. But carbon can have a different amount of neutrons, okay? The most common form of carbon has 6 neutrons. Sometimes carbon has 7 neutrons, and sometimes carbon has 8 neutrons. Those different types of carbons are different isotopes of carbons. Okay. Now, to determine the number of neutrons, what we have to do is we have to take the mass number minus the atomic number, and that will give us the number of neutrons. So if we remember, looking at the isotope notation here, the bottom left number, that's protons or atomic number. The top left number, that's our mass number. So in order to find how many neutrons this particular isotope of carbon has, we would just have to take 12 minus 6. So we would be able to figure out that this atom of carbon has 6 neutrons. Okay. Now, when we are identifying or writing that isotope of an element, we would write it using the mass number. So like down here, this carbon atom, we would write that as carbon-12 or C-12. That again is the most common form of carbon. Now, if we had an extra neutron in there, then the 6 would stay the same because the 6 is the atomic number. Protons didn't change. The 12 would turn to a 13, okay? Because we would have one extra neutron, and so therefore we would have an extra amount of mass. So one extra neutron means one extra mass number, so that would be 13 instead. And then we would write carbon 13 instead of carbon 12, or C13 instead of C12, okay? Now, if we are given an element with 7 protons, 7 neutrons, and 7 electrons, okay, I would like you to write down the isotope notation. I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, so writing down the isotope notation, after writing down the isotope notation, what would the name of the isotope be? And remember, you use the mass number in order to write down the name. Okay, next, how many protons, neutrons, and electrons does this have? All right, now, quick review of all the stats of an isotope, okay? To find the number of protons, that's real easy. You just look up the atomic number. So whatever the element is, you look on your periodic table, you find what its atomic number is, that's how many protons it has, okay? Now, to find number of electrons, you find first the number of protons, which again is the atomic number. Then you subtract that from the charge. So if the charge is -1 and your atomic number or number of protons is 7, then you just take protons minus -1, which is going to be 8, and that's how many electrons you have. To find the charge, you take number of protons minus number of electrons. Okay, so again, if you have 7 protons and 8 electrons, 7 minus 8 is -1, and you get a -1 charge. To find the mass number, you take protons plus neutrons. Okay, electrons don't play into the mass at all because electrons are way, way, way smaller than protons and neutrons. So they have a practical mass of 0, whereas protons and neutrons are about the same size as each other, and they each have an atomic mass of 1. So you just take protons plus neutrons, and you get the mass number. Now, to find number of neutrons, we would take the mass number, which again is the top left number up here. We would subtract that from protons, and we get neutrons. Okay, and again, to make the to write the isotope name, we use the mass number. Okay, so for this one, it's lithium, so we write the name lithium and then dash the mass number. Okay, and then this again is the isotope notation. And that is it.